Hello, everyone. A very good morning, good evening to all. How are you all doing today? We're so pleased to welcome you all to the first ever India-wide Mega Vodka event for the year 2022. We're happy to see both online and offline participants today. It's nice to see people joining in. We sincerely appreciate your participation in making today's inaugural event a grand success. I'm Krishanu, one of your hosts today for the day-long Vodka India event. So I'm a QA with around 9 years of experience, just a bit more than a 1 year old in ThoughtWorks. Currently working as a senior consultant in the areas of automation, performance, cloud, and DevOps. Yeah, really looking forward to interacting with you all throughout the day and the session. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, as per your applicable region. So, myself, Charan Kumar Saha, I'll be also posting along with Chris today. And it's a very nice to meet you all as well as interact with you all during the sessions. And I'm from the city of Joy, Kolkata, West Bengal. I have over 14 years of experience. And out of that, I have worked as a Java developer for the first 1 year. Then I moved to this fantastic testing world. I have been working with ThoughtWorks since last 1 year as a quality analyst senior consultant.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you present here. My name is Kinnari Sutaria, and I'm also your host for today. I hail from the city of dreams, Mumbai, and I have been associated with ThoughtWorks for almost 2 years now, and I have an overall 4 years of industry experience. I'm working as a senior consultant in quality assurance here. I have worked on API testing, web UI testing, and various cloud technologies and microservices. I have been inclined to infrastructure lately. I hope today's session will be great learning experience for you all. We'd like to start by explaining what Vodka is. So I'm sure many of you have already attended Vodka events earlier. So would you like to put on the comments what Vodka is?
Or even the full form means.
Yeah, you can even elaborate on the acronym.
I assume we're not talking about the alcoholic beverage.
No. We are talking about the vodka with the QA. Okay. Do we have any comments? Oh, I see. I think there are so many first timers, I believe. No worries. We will answer your question what vodka is and we'll talk about it. Yeah, we have one person answered that is value oriented. Deep, thank you for answering. Okay. Go ahead, Krish.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, quite a few right answers there. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Deep. I would like to explain again. I mean, for a few of us, it might be that a few of us could be new over here to the vodka events as well. So vodka, as Deep mentioned, it's the acronym for value-oriented discussions for quality analysts, right? It is a forum for us to support the motto, come learn something new, right? The forum offers a unique platform for the software testing industry to strengthen the QA community through knowledge sharing, right? Across all the ThoughtWorks India offices, we have successfully held more than 30 plus events of Vodka to date. We also organize half-day events called Vodka Shots across different offices and regions. Yeah.
It's Saturday morning, people. We are hearing a lot of vodka and vodka shots here. So yeah, it is vodka with a QA. So as you all know that we have been remote since the past couple of years, right? At least 2-3 years now. The pandemic affected the event as well, just like it did everyone else. But still we continued our tour on virtual mode. We held numerous events virtually over the past 2 years, hosted across all India offices. But we didn't get an opportunity to have you meet the entire community face to face. It's obviously wonderful to meet face to face in person to everyone in our ThoughtWorks offices, right? So we all value whatever Q&A sessions we have during these face-to-face meetups. We have the networking. We have what is the next conversations with each other. So it's wonderful, isn't it, to be in office and attend these Vodka events. So in this past 2-3 years, we have missed all of this. So here we are today. So we thought that, okay, out of diversity comes opportunity. We were aware that we could now engage in Vodka from anywhere while running virtual events. So so far, we have never done this even beyond a specific city. We always had Vodkas organized in particular cities, be it Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and so on. So this time we have discussed among ourselves and learned from the pandemic experience to make it beyond the city and from any corner of the world. Not only that, anyone across the globe can join remotely too. So is our keynote speaker of today, Samantha. We welcome you, Samantha, today over here in our Vodka India Mega event, which is our first India Mega event. Thank you for joining with us. And this is how we have had a chance to expand the event's geographic scope. Opportunity to expand one's horizons and gain a viewpoint from a larger community and from their valuable experience.
Yeah, that's great, Kinnari. And that's when actually we met among ourselves, and we have decided let's bring all the people so that we can meet with each other and have this kind of Vodka India event in this year. So let's meet all the evangelists today and engage in conversation as much as possible using the Zoom chat option as well as Q&A to ask or raise any questions you have regarding the talk. And we have various talks lined up, and we hope you all will gain knowledge of the wide range of testing domains, which will elevate you to a new level where you can view the testing from a wider angle.
So we host won't take much of your time now. And without ado, we'll begin the first keynote speech by Samantha Connelly. So I would like to say something about Samantha. So Sam is also known as Bug Hunter Sam online. You must have all heard about it. Sam is an esteemed tester from Sydney, Australia. She conducts frequent pair testing exercises on YouTube with testers from around the world. Community and continuous learning are the core values for her. Sam specializes in mobile apps and the finance sector, often consulting in this space under her own company. And her topic is tales of fail. We all know that we are all scared of failures, right? So as testers, we often have to deal with failures, whether it's a devastating bug report or feeling like we haven't done enough testing. We are surrounded by this sense of failure a lot. Your stories of how to lead in the industry has failed throughout their career, from redundancies to firings and everything in between. So it's a talk on how we can build resilience as testers with a bit of mental health focus. Over to you, Samantha.
Oh, I am going to be participating under two profiles on this. So if the technology doesn't work at all, so I'm using a microphone through a computer, but I'm using a mobile app for the film. For some reason, my camera is not working on the desktop. So you get to see me twice.
No issue. We love to.
Cool. But I assume technology-wise, it is otherwise working. The next test then is to share my screen. I think I will just share the whole screen, so you probably get a bit of duplication. And if I start the slideshow, there we go. That looks like it's up and running. I do have a QR code to access the slides and the accompanying blog post for this talk, and also a link as well. So to start off the premise, I feel like a failure. Nearly every single day I wake up and I feel like a failure. I know this is not true, but it is something that has been conditioned into my mind. It is unfortunate that I feel like a failure, but I hope that I am not the only person here in this room that sometimes feels like a failure. And the topic, the focus of this talk is to go through how I've perceived failure in my career and how I've gone about trying to build resilience and grow my career as a tester. So first of all, to start off with the failures, I failed school. I started uni, as an 18, 19-year-old. I enrolled in mechatronics engineering, computer science, overloaded with a diploma of Japanese. I passed high school in the top 3% of my state. I was told I was a smart cookie and I could do whatever I want. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in school, and I thought robotics in Japan sounded interesting, so why not? Then I developed chronic depression going through school. I started failing my engineering subjects. I was 3/4 of the way through a computer science degree, so I ended up dropping the engineering. because I had been working from the age of 14 as well as studying full time this whole period. And my brain just went, you know what, I've had enough. You're doing too much. I can't cope. We're dropping out of school. So that was my first failure, but that led to me getting a career in testing because as I was failing some of these subjects in school, I was looking at starting my tech career. I'd worked in supermarkets for 7 years, part-time all through high school. And I was just looking for a job that was a little bit more related to my studies compared to working in the supermarket. And so I was actually originally looking for a graduate developer role, but managed to, I didn't have enough experience. They said, we want someone with a bit more know-how. And they said, keep an eye out on our testing roles instead. So I started applying for part-time testing roles while I was going through uni. My first job out of this failure in school, I ended up getting a part-time job testing a point of sale software, which is the software they use in supermarkets. So my supermarket experience helped me land a job kind of more than my degree or my failed attempt at studies. As I was going through my career, about 4 years into moving to Sydney, I'm originally from Tasmania, so I moved about 8 years ago. So about 4 years into this journey, I broke my ankle. And that had a huge impact on my mental well-being as well. So I guess that's a physical failure, but it also impacted me mentally. At the time, my career was, I thought, I had gotten the optimum job in tech. I was working for one of those big giant tech companies, working on a mobile app that's used for mapping and navigation. It is installed by default on the Android operating system. Can't officially say the name of the client because this talk is recorded, but wink, wink, hopefully you know the company. So I thought this was meant to be the ultimate, tech place to work. In my mind, that's what it was. But before I broke my ankle, I was really struggling to figure out my space in this. I was a contractor on this project, and I felt really isolated. And after 9 months of doing this bug triaging for this big giant app, it gets a bit boring, a bit repetitive. And because I wasn't able to get satisfaction from my role in this big giant tech company, I couldn't ask for support on the client side because that was against the rules of the contract. I couldn't talk about anything performance or work related with the colleagues that I was working with. And on the contracting side, I was the only person in my company assigned to this client's project. And so I couldn't really seek any support or help from my contracting company either. And so it just made me feel like a failure, like I couldn't get into a solid testing career because I'm working at this company, which is meant to be one of the best tech companies to work for. And I just wasn't getting any satisfaction with my career. The next role I tried was a quality coach role with a smaller company here in Sydney. And on paper, it seemed like the best company for what I was trying to achieve at my career at the time. It was about coaching and mentoring developers, trying to uplift quality. It's that trying to encourage that quality as a team responsibility. I did not pass probation in this role. I was performance reviewed out. And part of it, I think, was because I was recovering from this broken ankle. I didn't actually start this role on the correct foot. There's a pun in there. But because I wasn't able to focus all of my mental energy on starting this new role and trying to build up a reputation with the engineering team, I lost this reputation and I wasn't able to rebuild it. And so I was performance managed out and I didn't pass probation. I'd say this is kind of related to struggling with mental health at the time. I was just unable to fulfill that role. And it came back to that, just kind of feeling like a failure, not being able to get what I want out of my career. At this time as well, in my 20s, I was struggling with a huge amount of credit card debt. I think it was, it was 35K AUD by the end of my 20s, and I think that's 18 lakhs. So it was a shit ton of money. So I struggled with credit card debt in my 20s, and this was something that made me feel like a huge failure. I knew I was a smart person. Why was I being so stupid with my own money? I've managed to get out of that debt now. And by going through this process, I've learned that keeping a good emergency fund is essential for your own mental well-being and stability through a career. It's like if you can't work or if you find yourself being made redundant or there are any other things that come up, having that 3-month emergency fund is a great way to ensure against some of these issues that can come up in your career. But yes, another failure to add to the list of failures. There was there was a redundancy after that. So after I'm struggling with all of this debt, trying to figure out what to do with my career, I joined a startup. It was a meditation app. I never thought in all of my career I'd be a software tester for a meditation app because if there's bugs in production, people can still meditate. I was really surprised that the CTO convinced the team that they needed a lead automation engineer. And this was a tiny engineering team of like 12 people. Everyone was technically a lead. And so they were just inflated titles. But about 6 months into that role, I was made redundant because some of the funding that was behind the company, they were maybe 2 to 3 months behind actually getting a self-sufficient business. And the investors had withdrawn some of their backing, and it was really just a bad circumstance working through that. Just keeping an eye on time. Cool. Yeah, and so working through a redundancy wasn't necessarily I didn't feel like a failure personally, but it is another one of those things that can come up during your career and just make you question whatever you're doing with stuff. Then after that startup, I thought I was going to join another startup as a potential head of engineering up in Newcastle, which is about a 2 to 3 hour drive north of Sydney. It's the next second biggest city in Australia. No, after Melbourne. It's the next biggest city in New South Wales, which is my state. Yeah, so a lot of people, it's about 2 hour drive away. So I had inspected rentals, I put down a deposit on a place, and then a week before I was meant to start this role, they actually turned around and said, oh, actually, we don't actually want you here. And the story I was told was someone talked to someone else because the tech industry is quite small. Someone knew someone from the company where I had that quality coach role, the one that I didn't pass probation. And so someone talked to someone, and from their point of view, it looked like I didn't perform in the quality coach role. So whoever they talked to didn't have the right context of the situation of why I was let go from that quality coach role. They didn't quite have the full picture, but people like to gossip in technology. And so someone on this board of this new startup in Newcastle reached out to someone who used to work in that company where I was a quality coach and basically said, something that indicated about my struggles with mental health. So I would say it was actually a bullet dodged, but it was very annoying because I'd already told my housemate I was going to move out. They'd already found a new housemate. I put down a deposit on a new place, and I'd already mentally prepared myself to move to another city, but it wasn't to happen. And I remained in Sydney, which I think overall has turned out for the better. But another list of failures to add to the CV of failures. And then I joined a big bank here in Australia, and that was going relatively well, but I had a series of poor performance reviews. I think partly it was my manager didn't know what was going on with the mobile team. I was on a mobile team, and we got to release an app from internal beta release to external release and watch that whole process. So it was a really greenfield project. And so even though this was working in big giant bank, it felt like a small startup team, because there was one Android developer, one iOS developer, 2 backend engineers, 2 testers, and a few other people that were involved with this team building this from the ground up. And it was a really insightful project to work on. I'm still really proud of that project. But in the backlog of releasing a successful app and getting customer engagement, I just had a slew of poor performance reviews, which is like really disheartening from a Like if you're trying to build a successful career and you've got someone on this side who's basically saying, look, I don't think you're doing good enough in this job. I expected different things. One of the poor performance reviews was related to not doing back-end test automation. I'm like, yeah, that is valid. I am not doing that. But it's because I'm on the mobile team in this big giant bank architecture. They won't issue you 2 different machines to work from home with. And because I was on the app team, I needed a Mac to be able to do all of the app code stuff because, you know, Apple's a bit like that with their mobile app development. And the backend was written in C#. So I needed a Microsoft machine because we couldn't port that code over to the Mac system. And I could only use 1 machine working from home for some weird reason. And so when my boss said, look, you're not doing a lot of back-end automation, I'm like, yeah, the technology doesn't support it. It is quite a struggle. If I want to do more back-end automation, I actually have to come into the office and use the other machine I'm not using day to day and go through that process. And which, like, I was going into the office slightly more, and that was during the peak of the pandemic, but it was also because some of the mobile testing required you to be on the corporate Wi-Fi, which again is kind of frustrating, but it did mean I was in the office slightly more during the pandemic because of stuff like that. We had a side note, we had an on-premise device cloud that we had a team in India using for testing purposes. And oh my God, the lag that they had. I don't know how they got anything done. It would have been really frustrating to work with, but that's a side note. I can sympathize with working from another country and having to deal with international lag in a corporate network. Oh, and recently I did pass probation for a test lead role. And this was with a smaller company, an engineering team of 14 people large, and the total company was 40 people. This is the first tester that they hired. And it was really trying to uplift the quality is a team responsibility. I was told I didn't quite have the skills, and I was quite disappointed about receiving this. So when I previously didn't pass probation with the quality coach role, at least I was coached and mentored and I was given an opportunity to improve and see if it was really not the right fit. So I could actually see that I wasn't going to pass probation. And so I could prepare myself a bit more. Whereas this most recent batch of not passing probation, it was just one day, my boss pulled me into the office and said, hey, it's not working. We actually wanted someone to drive a quality plan a bit faster than already had an idea of what metrics to measure to help drive quality and help make the engineers more responsible. And it's like, okay, but it was just pulled in one day and, oh, sorry, you haven't passed probation. So it was a little frustrating to deal with. I've now just this week started a new contract role with another mobile app team. And I think overall it has turned out for the better. And I have ended up in a better position, but I'm still frustrated, a bit salty, a bit annoyed about that situation. So where does this sense of failure come from? Where I grew up, my dad wasn't necessarily the smartest person. If you know anything about Australia and the stereotypes, I would say my dad is a stereotypical bogan. He didn't pass high school. He dropped out of school when he was 14. He's got tattoos. He's a tradie. He's a builder. He builds kitchens and bathrooms. So he's very good with his hands. Runs his own business doing garden and home maintenance. Has like 5 teeth on the top row. So he's a character. And he like tattoos and stuff like that. But growing up with that type of person who didn't quite have the best emotional intelligence, I internalized a lot of how he spoke to me. So my sense of failure is actually my dad's voice internalized, telling me I can't do anything right. And I've worked through schema therapy with a therapist recently to overcome that voice, to make that voice not so loud, not so present, not so front and center on a day-to-day basis. But sometimes the way we talk to ourselves internally can come from like a really bad experience. Either it's like the way we grew up, or we went through something traumatic in high school, or for some reason, our brain has developed this coping mechanism. And it helped us survive that moment as a young person, but it's not all that healthy to have that response in your brain as an adult. So other sources of failures that I imagine have come up in most careers, you know, dealing with the interview can really feel like you're being put on the spot, you're being told you're not good enough or anything like that. And really the only way to get over that sense of failure is through practice. It's approaching interviews as if you are performing yeah. So the sense of failure can come from interviews. I'm going to completely butcher this phrase, but I was told it was pronounced Lokia Kahenge. What will people say? And that can trigger a sense of failure as well. If you are concerned with what people will say or what people will think of you, you are going to also generate this sense of failure internally, because people are always going to criticize you for not doing enough. They're always going to say things. So why care about what they're going to say? So in terms of building resilience, whenever you try something new, whether it's your career or you're trying to cook something new or anything, it does come with risk. That's part of the learning process. It's okay to fail when you are trying new things, and try not to get caught up on that. Maybe just acknowledge it, and maybe not try to take it as personally as I do with my poor mental health. Acknowledge nothing goes to plan. Things that have helped me overcome my sense of failure have been going through therapy or counseling, or just talking to other people about some of the struggles I have mentally, but also doing a bit of self-reflection, reflecting on what you want out of your career, your relationships, your family, or anything like that, can help you consolidate what you're trying to get out of it. And that can help you deal with the sense of failure a bit more too. Now, I will give you a couple of tools that you can use to talk about mental health. Spoon theory is a disability metaphor, but it's to do with limited capacity. Say, most people have a certain amount of spoons per day, and doing things consumes spoons. Taking a shower might consume a spoon. Most people have an almost infinite amount of spoons, but if you're struggling with mental health or recovering from some other chronic condition, your spoons are greatly reduced, or things can cost more spoons. So if you're feeling low on energy, I often with my partner use this metaphor to say, look, I'm just out of spoons. I don't have the capacity to deal with, maybe going out and talking to people, or I'm going to have a bath and I'm going to recharge my spoons. Or so we use this metaphor, just talk about capacity and energy. Another tool that I've developed through therapy is externalizing that voice. So instead of it being part of you, being an essential part of you, you abstract it out, you externalize it. So through therapy, my therapist got me to imagine that this critic that was always telling me that I was a failure is like a Muppet. It's always coming up and interrupting. And so if I notice this Muppet whispering in my ear, you're such a failure, why did you get up today? I can say, look, Muppet, it's nice to see you here, but do you mind taking a step back? Maybe tell it you're not driving this bus anymore, go to the back of the bus, or whatever analogy you want to use. If you try to catch that voice when it's trying to flare up, when it's trying to cause you anxiety or stress, and you go, look, that is not helpful right now, please step aside unless you're going to add anything useful, can also be a way to help get that voice inside of your head just a little bit further out. So you're not getting caught up in the stress and anxiety of it on a day-to-day basis. My final sentiment is that hopefully you can feel more comfortable about talking about your failings. It will help you and your community. I've learned that talking about failings and mental health can be a bit of taboo in some cultures. So hopefully this helps uplift that taboo a little bit. And if you've got any questions, I'm happy to take questions, and you can access all of the information for this presentation And I would like to restart the YouTube pair testing. I've taken a bit of a break from that because I've been studying a little bit over the last year or two, but I would love to restart the pair testing on YouTube. So if you would love to participate, feel free to reach out to me or nominate a colleague that you would like to see me pair test with. I'll pull up the chat and answer any questions.
Folks, feel free to add your question in the Q&A or chats wherever, and Sam will be really happy to answer those questions.
Hey, I think I saw one raised hand. Not sure, I just don't remember the name. But folks, feel free to drop in your question if you have any.
Yeah, that was Savita. So in case if you have any queries, please feel free to post the queries.
Okay, let's wait for a few seconds. Okay, I think we are good. So thank you very much, Sam. Your story is really inspiring. Clearly, failure is an inescapable part of life and a critically important part of any successful life, I would say. Thank you for giving us your valuable time. And folks, we would like to have your feedback if you have any for Sam. We'll launch a poll and please provide your inputs. Krish, can you launch the poll?
Folks, I think you were able to see the poll.
Yeah, we are getting the votes.
Thank you.
So I can ask a question from Bangalore. Hi, Samantha. It is nice to hear from you because a lot of people does not speak about the failures. Maybe the question is from my side. I'm in the industry for like more than 16 years now. What would you suggest for somebody who is starting the career in the QA, right? The landscape changes a lot. What we started before 15, 16 years back or 10 years back, things are like XR, VR is coming. We are going to have a talk about that today as well. But a lot more. What is your way, or what would you suggest? Somebody starting new, how to pick up technology and move ahead with.
Yeah, my general suggestions for anyone kind of starting out is to not get too caught up in the automation hype. I remember early in my career, I felt like I was missing out because I wasn't an automation engineer, and that's where all the cool testing things happened. And now that I've worked a bit more, I'm like, it's not as great of a hype as it is in terms of skills that I've used, more technical skills that I've used on a day-to-day basis more. Things like software engineering skills, like being able to participate in code reviews, GitHub repositories and whatnot, they have serviced me more than learning automation frameworks. Like Selenium has existed for, I don't know, 12 years now. And I don't add it to my CV. It's not really a skill that I specialize in. So like when it comes to learning new skills, pick something that you would be interested in and not just for, I think this will make more money, or this is what all the job ads look like they have, because job ads lie. They'll put a big laundry list of technology on there, and it can be easy to feel like a failure when you're comparing yourself to these job ads, because it's like, man, look at all these, job ads with all this technology. I can't do half of that stuff. So it's also the sentiment, if you want to learn a new technology, find a group of people who also want to learn that technology, whether it's an online group or some colleagues, and share your lessons learned. I don't know how many Udemy courses I have enrolled and have never finished. So trying to bring more people in with the learning also helps you share and learn that process too.
Do we have any other questions from any of the office people?
Yeah, hi. I'm Amar. So my question is that now that this new like full stack and SRE platform engineering and many aspects are coming in where one person is like all over the place, knows everything and everything's automated. So that's what is being like told is the future. So what is the relevance of QA testing? Remain as a specific function, or will it merge into like SRE, full stack, platform engineering, DevOps, DevSecOps? So I'm throwing all the jargons so I don't miss anything. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Like, it's like the sentiment is like, what is the future of testing when the expectation is to have a finger in all these different pies? And I don't think I've got a good answer for you. It might be one of those things that if someone's got a reflective blog post that might be a bit insightful. I think it's companies not knowing what they want or what they need or what's involved with skilled testing and going, hey, we just want a jack of all trades. And then things not matching up from there. But in terms of, I feel like it's really challenging to build a long-term career in tech under just the testing label. And you kind of have to diversify that skill set to bring more value to the business. But I think there's other areas that, depending on what you're interested in, if you're interested in doing more of the analysis, leaning towards business analysis, if you're more technical, maybe more on the automation test frameworks, maybe the SRE side, or potentially picking up some of those DevOps skills to help with build pipelines. I think it can't hurt a lot of testers to pick up other skills to make it easier to sell your skills outside of that. I personally view it quite challenging to sell just testing as a skill set. And a lot of businesses aren't necessarily hiring people with those backgrounds or calling them testers in their engineering teams.
Thank you. Thanks, Samantha.
We have a question from Gurugram as well. So what is the future of Cypress tool? Like nowadays people are telling that Cypress is going to be eating the Selenium basically in BDD framework. So
Selenium's still around, isn't it? And people have been saying Selenium's been dead for the last 10 years. Like working on one of those big banks, they still have mainframe developers and mainframe technology. And that, like the Y2K bug, helped pioneer India as the outsourcing capital, tech capital of the world. And so there's still a need for mainframe developers. And we are now 22 years after Y2K. There's probably always going to be a web team with a legacy Cypress code base that they kind of need to maintain. They'd love to migrate away from it, but they don't have the engineering investment to maintain their legacy code. So as long as Cypress exists as a thing, people saying that it's going to die, I'm like, yeah, there's plenty of other technologies that they say would die and they still exist.
thank you. Any other question from Gurugram?
Do we have any other questions from any of the offices in person or anyone from the online? We have a couple more minutes with Sam, so you can utilize this time.
Also, I'm happy to answer any questions over email or Twitter later on. Feel free to reach out. Cool. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Thank you very much for your valuable time.
Thank you so much, Sam. That was, as the pouring comments mention, we all should agree, like this is damn inspiring, because we don't really hear about mental health and testing and related stuff, right? We'll be always hearing about technical things, right? So thank you so much, Sam, for bringing it up.